Today's guest is my second favourite wheelchair tennis player. Let's let him introduce himself.
G'day, I'm Heath Davidson. Apparently, I am Dylan Alcott's doubles partner.
Apparently. Well, I think we are. Heater, mate, as you mentioned, we are doubles partners, but you are a tennis player. You are now, but you had a pretty incredible life. Tell the people listening a bit about yourself. What do you do?
I'm a professional tennis player. Would like to say that I'm a professional gamer, but not that good. Spend most of my time playing tennis, hanging out with Dylan, and just, getting through life and enjoying it. And
Do a little bit I can never say this word, can I? Advocacy work as well.
I work for Dylan's company, Get Skilled Access, so it's always good as an associate, which getting out there and talking to people and helping people recognise and understand disabilities a bit more. It's always good, and it's something that I'm really passionate about.
Well, Heath, I don't know why you're in a wheelchair. What happened? What's going on? How did we end up here?
Well, I definitely don't have a cool story. So
Okay.
Hang on, this is a cool story.
It's not.
My brother, right? My brother Zach works at Get Skilled Access. We work together, and he goes, "Oh, had a few beers with Heath," and he told me his story over a few beers, and it's like amazing. But when he gets up on the mic, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a wheelchair, and then I play tennis, and it's life's good." And I'm like, "Hang on, go into detail about
Rewind.
the story.
Take us there.
Give us the
I don't
full
know if
bunger."
it was from birth. I don't know if it's from an accident, because Dylan wouldn't let me research your story for the purpose that I can learn at the same time as the audience.
So I guess I'll go back to the start then. I was born, an abled person. And 5 months after being born, I contracted a virus called transverse myelitis, which affects the myelin sheaths in your nervous system. And that left me a complete quadriplegic. And after a few weeks, I gradually got movement back in my hands and my arms and then my upper limbs. Believe it or not, I was the youngest person in Australia to get transverse myelitis, and I was in hospital for around 12 months because they didn't know what I had. A doctor from overseas came over to do an exchange student, actually came over to do,
She wasn't even a doctor; she's an exchange student.
yeah, an
wasn't she?
exchange student came over and managed to figure out what I got, and
Wow.
You'd be dead otherwise.
pretty much me. So
Oh, really? If it wasn't for this person, you would have gone undiagnosed and probably...
I definitely wouldn't have been where I am today. So
Wow.
very fortunate.
What was his or her name?
I couldn't tell you.
Really?
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask my mum, but she probably can't remember any either. But yeah,
What an impact she's had on your life without, knowing.
Definitely. It was really tough for my parents and stuff like that. Obviously, I was a baby, so it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of how I became paralysed and in a wheelchair. And
I think when you're older, when you get transverse myelitis, you know, like if we have a guy we play tennis with, Gordon Reed, he had the same
Dana
thing.
Matthews.
Yeah,
as well.
but they're older when they got it. So if you're walking around as a 10-year-old and all of a sudden your legs go wonky, you're like, what's going on with me?
Yeah.
But because you were nonverbal, you're a kid, you couldn't tell your parents about what was going on. Is that why it affected so much of your body?
Well, my body didn't have time to develop. So I was lying. Apparently, I was just lying on the couch next to Dad, and I started crying, and I wouldn't stop crying. He reckons I cried for about 16 hours before they took me to the hospital because I just wouldn't stop. And then, once they took me to the hospital, that's pretty much where I stayed for the next 12 to 17 months. And speaking to other people that have had the virus later on in life, I'm sort of really fortunate that I wasn't older because the excruciating pain that they went through, they said they felt like their body was on fire and all that stuff. And
Isn't it
for
weird,
me,
though? You
it's-
were going through that pain, but you just are lucky enough not to remember it.
yeah, I can't remember
I always think
much.
about that with kids. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're lucky, you didn't really know what was going on. But at the time you did.
Yeah.
As a kid, obviously we don't remember that past, you remember post 3 or 2. But you were in excruciating pain.
Apparently,
Yeah.
But for me, it was something that I obviously can't remember. So
Wow.
I know what your dad's going through as well because I hear you cry on the tennis court for 16 hours at a time as well.
Okay.
is that after you beat me every time we play, you jerk, or what's the go here?
Happy with that one.
So you said that you were quadriplegic, and
Uh,
then you started to get feeling within your hands.
Yeah. So when I first got sick, and I was in hospital, I couldn't move anything but my head.
Yeah.
And then
Which is
gradually
why
over
it's quadriplegic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so gradually
neck
over
below.
time, I got movement back in my upper limbs, and
Right.
Yeah, it's
I
sort
didn't know
of,
that you could come back from being quadriplegic, but I guess, was it affecting your spinal cord?
it's the nervous system so it's the myelin sheath in your nervous system.
Right. I
So
don't know
it's
what
just been
any of
like,
that is.
it's been eaten away, and obviously over time it somewhat healed a little bit, but just never fully recovered to.
So some
back
of
to
the
normal.
nerves might have been cut away fully forever, but some of them might have been damaged, and parts of your nervous system can reform.
Because you got
Well,
diagnosed.
yeah, I don't think they've been cut away, but yeah, some have been severely damaged, and others have managed to come back.
I mean, viruses are topical at the moment. There is this thing, I don't know if anyone's heard
Hmm.
about it, called the coronavirus. How does a 5-month-old get a virus?
An airborne one too, that just out of
And
nowhere.
how does it not affect your parents who are with you 24/7?
I have no idea. It's
Crazy.
crazy.
Did they
So-
give you some kind of vibe about how?
Well, no, but I mean, obviously, my parents have both got theories and stuff like that, which are
5G towers?
yeah, it's nah. So I had a vaccination 6 days.
Oh, we're
six-
going down the anti-vaxxer
Oh,
train
six-
now.
6 days before I
You
got
could be
sick.
in the news
and
here. Wait,
um,
hang on. Tell it honestly. So 6 days before.
6 days before I got sick, I had the polio vaccination, and yeah, it all went pear
Does
shaped
that
after
mean
that. So
you will, are you a bit of an anti-vaxxer because of it?
nah, not really, mate.
Okay.
I've always
It's-
wondered why your name is Heath Davidson Evans. And it's because Pete Evans is your dad.
But
It's the worst joke.
that is absolutely shocking.
That's terrible.
Absolutely
He's so,
shocking.
he's so happy with his own
But
gear.
oh mate, you should hear him on the tennis course.
mate, I
Shocking.
get enough of it.
Love my stuff.
But yeah, no.
So
like,
what's their theories? What? So they both
That was it.
reckon that?
yeah, both reckon it was that wiped
Wow.
out my
Any-
immune system, and I
The
caught
did
an
the
airborne
medical
virus
teams
in
tell you
hospital.
that? Did the medical team?
Nah.
You never know with viruses though. Like we had Mike Rolls on,
Yeah, they mutate.
and Mike, Mike just as he describes it, took a breath in at the wrong time and ended up with meningococcal, which obviously affected his life to a
Yeah, it's
point that
crazy.
he's lost limbs. So you can just be in the wrong place at the wrong time with this stuff. But it's just amazing to see the damaging effects from both of your stories of what they could be. Unbelievable.
Not just tough, tough for you with your disability growing up, but you're not the only person in your family with a disability, are you?
No, I'm not. I actually have an older brother who is intellectually disabled. So he is autistic, has ADD, and yeah, has brain damage. So
Now, was that due to lack of oxygen during
that
birth?
was he was a breech baby, and his umbilical cord was strangling him when he came out. Wasn't breathing for 3 minutes, and when they brought him back, the damage was done. So
Mm.
parents had a full on, I guess, full on life with our younger years.
Yeah, how old's your brother?
He's 3 years older than me. So.
Yeah, so imagine that 5
And-
years, for example, or 6 years. I mean,
Yeah, it's
obviously we're
crazy.
beyond that, but that's just
And there's a scope of intellectual disabilities. Trent is probably on the higher end of it.
Yeah, so he's probably got the, I guess, mental capacity is maybe a 6-year-old.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, he's great value.
He's a
Dylan
legend.
used to come down and hit down when we used to train in Moorabbin. It's shocking, but it was good fun. He loves watching the birds, watching trains. Just he's always happy. So
yeah.
sort of yeah, he lives a great life. And I guess sometimes I look at him and I'm like, God, I wish I could be that happy all the time. But
He's a legend, yeah.
obviously, he does get a bit carried away. He actually came and watched myself play Dylan last year at the Australian Open, and like mid-point
He's
started
just-
saying, "Come on, Heath, come on!" And I'm like,
I was
Trent,
like,
not now,
Trenner.
not
Yeah,
now.
It's very good.
Like mid-point.
If that was David Wagner, we would have been pissed, but I was like, Trenner, you can do what you want, brother. It's
It's
very
good fun.
So, I mean, disability's been around your parents then. I mean, that's all they've known as parents.
Yep.
Did they have much education or learning before that? Other family members with disabilities, or
Nah,
just thrown in the deep end?
thrown in the deep end and learnt just as they went along. And I mean, I think I turned out reasonably okay.
Hey, you seem a
Um,
good bloke.
Dylan may disagree.
I'm a
But-
big fan.
Yeah, they just did what they had to do to get it done. And
We will have more parents on this podcast, but just looking at our social media, we have a lot of parents who mostly come in the DMs who talk to us about being new parents to kids with disabilities. And I think it is something that we definitely will talk with more parents of people with disabilities, like, both of your parents, for example. But for you as kids, to both of you, can you talk about the impact of what your parents did in those early days that kind of stick out for you? Do you remember some things that, were positive outcomes for you with, disability?
I mean, before we get into that positive side of it, I'll say I'm always going to be very, very upset with my parents because the first year of primary school, I didn't have a wheelchair. So I had to scoot around on a skateboard
Okay.
instead of a wheelchair. So not happy about that.
Okay,
But
so
Real
just-
Tony Hawk of him.
There you go. For parents, look at your kids a chair when you can.
yeah, definitely when they need a chair, get a chair.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean they just looked after me, made sure I was all right. Obviously,
Did you come home from school upset at moments? And do you remember how they dealt with that sort of those moments?
I mean, coming home upset, I sort of was all right until I hit high school.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you're growing up and stuff like that, you look at things differently, and then you have a lot of questions. And both of my parents were really good with answering those questions and stuff like that. So they've always given me a positive attitude and looking forward and stuff like that. So,
Do you think it was tough on them having two disabled kids under 3 in a row?
oh hells yeah, man! Like as you know, because we've known each other so long, like full marriage breakup, a pretty nasty one too, and like being told to pick sides, and it was really hard because I was playing tennis, and Dad took me to all my tennis stuff, so I went with Dad, and then I didn't have a relationship with my mum for 2 years because of it, and yeah, it got pretty nasty, and obviously I remind my mum a lot of my dad, so there's always that, and there's a bit of alcoholism in my family, and my mum had a heart attack when I was in grade 6, and I had to drive her car to the doctors.
At the age of
Yeah, so I
what,
sat on
13?
I sat on her knee and did the gears and steered to the doctors when I was in grade 6.
Oh my god, because you can't use the pedals.
Correct.
Yeah, so we had my brother in the back seat as well. So yeah, we got to the doctors and she got rushed out the back, and we were just sitting there, and next thing you know, ambulance rocks up, and we just had to wait. And Dad came and picked us up, and next thing we know, Mum's had a heart attack. And
Heath, that's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my entire life. You had to
Yeah.
drive your mum's car. The first time you've ever been behind a wheel?
yeah, I was legit like, well, what would I have been, 13, 14? It's crazy.
And she's operating because obviously she's having a heart attack, and she's
Yeah, so
operating the accelerator and the brakes.
Yeah, and I
Oh
was
my-
steering and doing the gears.
And your brother's in the back.
brother was in the back. And then, yeah,
Wow.
she was in hospital, and yeah, it's pretty much mum's life changed after that. She was really straighty 180, and previously to that, and then after the heart attack, she sort of just thought life's too short. So yeah, it is what it is.
You had a bit of a tough upbringing, family-wise, and obviously having Treno, and it was a lot of pressure on you as a youngster. Do you wish you had a bit more of a normal childhood, or you?
Nah, man. I mean, I am who I am today because of my past. So, there may be some things I'd change over the course of my journey, but my journey is my journey, and nobody can take that away from me. And it's my story, and I feel like 33 years on, I'm in a pretty good spot. So, I'm happy with it. I've got some cool stories to tell along the way.
We're looking
so,
forward to hearing them all.
it's a good one.
Dylan's smiling at me. This is bad. Yeah, so like I don't think I'd change anything.
As a kid, though, was there a sense of guilt that you might have felt that you were, and your brother, responsible for that breakup and the messiness around, and maybe the alcohol abuse within the family, kind of as a dealing mechanism?
Oh, definitely feel like
Which obviously it wasn't. You can't blame
Yeah.
yourself now. At the age of 33,
I mean,
you can look back.
looking back now, back at those years now, then I can sort of see then, yeah, I did sort of put a little bit of blame on myself, and obviously took a lot of the blame and responsibility for my brother as well, because he doesn't know any difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a shit of a kid, man. Like I'd stir my brother up all the time, and it would have been real tough on my parents, but they're great people. I love them to death. And yeah, like if I've ever made their life harder than it needs to be, I'm sorry. And it's now live in a podcast that I've said it. So
Well, it's very honest, man. I think there's going to be a lot of people who respect the honesty of that conversation. But like you said, we're here to learn more about
Yeah.
you and your story, and that's the foundation of it.
And we're honest. And me, Heath, and I, and you, Angus, we're not deterring any parent listening right now to to be scared to have a kid with disability. You know what I mean? But we're going to be honest about some of the trials and tribulations, because that's what this podcast is about, is to educate and things like that. We'll get to your the middle part of your life, as we call it, Heath, in a minute. But before that, you were a bloody very good junior tennis player, weren't you? So can you tell us a bit about getting into sport for the first time and what that did for you? Because you're a good-looking, sexy, muscly man now, but you were fat as well.
Well, I mean, mate, you might be number one in the world in tennis, but I can guarantee I'm better looking than you. So
Oh, I don't know
true.
about that.
No,
but-
that's honestly, that's true.
definitely
I mean,
go
hands
that.
up if you've been in Cleopatra of the Year in this room.
Yeah, hands up if you've won it.
Hands,
Put it
Yeah,
down.
and Cleo,
I didn't
put-
put my hand.
But you're in it.
I'm not going to put it up just to rub it in Heater's face.
hands up if you're an underwear model.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, me,
No,
not you.
Well, okay. Whoa, whoa. There's a big ego off here.
Whoa.
Big ego.
Wait,
But
When's this podcast going live? I might have decided someone.
don't do that to me, Dylan. Let me have undies. Yeah, as Dylan mentioned, I was very overweight and chubby.
So was Dylan, by the way. If you've seen the chubby photo of Dylan that was on the front page of the Illawarra News. What was that
I have-
newspaper?
Heath and
I have chubby photos of Dylan.
together.
Oh, yeah,
but
good.
Heath and I were like playing doubles together. I was 10, 11, you were 14. Man, we were fat.
So yeah, as Dylan said, I was 14 when I started playing tennis. It wasn't even supposed to be anything really moving forward. It was just to get fit and try and lose some weight. And my dad actually got in contact with a local guy, because I grew up about 20 minutes from Dylan in Mentone. He was obviously in Hampton or Brighton
yeah.
or wherever it was. And got onto a local tennis coach named Marco, and he said, come down. Had never hit with anybody in a wheelchair or coached anyone with a disability, and he was just like, let's do it. So I started going down there, and then me and Dylan had been in contact, and Dylan started coming down, and
It was cool for us, wasn't it, man? 'Cause
well,
we didn't really know anyone else.
I hadn't had any other disabled friends, so it was really cool, and we could share stories and sort of go through some stuff together. And as we mentioned, we were both very overweight, and it was a good way for us to get fit, and we got to see each other a couple of times a week and hang out and all that stuff. So
Why tennis? I mean, apart from the fact you both
because I can't kick a footy, so yeah,
And he is shit at basketball.
yeah, I'm shocking, so bad.
Oh,
The number
really?
one sport
Yeah.
in a wheelchair, everyone goes, do you want to try a wheelchair sport? Try basketball, because it's like dodging cars.
I'm shocking.
Yeah, he's not
Shocking.
very good at it.
Like, and Dylan's smile right now is brilliant because he knows how
He's
bad I
actually
am.
shocking. How many times as a junior did I beat you in tennis? Do
0.
you know that?
Oh,
Not once.
So from 14 to 18, Dylan had never beaten me.
Yeah.
And now do you want me to start the other?
No, we'll talk about it later. But as a junior, Heath was like my tennising idol. I never beat him once. We used to wear matching clothes when we played doubles as well. It was
Mate, your
pretty-
dad buying us that
Yeah,
matching outfit
we
for our
wore it
first
everywhere
ever
we went.
tournament.
Like
It's
we
the
were
best.
best mates as we are now, which is really cool. And it meant a lot to us, I think, because, we traveled around Australia. We even went to New Zealand and things. Like we went overseas and met other people with disabilities, like
Yeah, it was wicked.
drinking.
Mate,
like-
Funkmaster Jay from America.
Correct.
the day
Yeah.
that-
All
Yeah.
these people that it just opened up a new world to us, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely, man. It was really cool. And up until like that time of my life, I sort of never thought that me being in a wheelchair would escalate into anything. I didn't think we could have, I guess, normal lives and have careers and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
that's a really good turning point. So do you remember exactly the moment that was? And I should have mentioned you said Funk Master J as well.
Yeah, well, that's what he called himself. Fuck
Yeah,
Master
but-
Jay from
No, but the way
America.
you say
it sounds like you're saying something else.
Ah, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, he's
don't-
very good in the bedroom. Jay, the Funk Master Jay. So do you remember? Is there a particular moment that you went? I don't want to say like you just started smiling. You're like, holy crap! There is a life in a chair for me.
I wouldn't say it was when I started playing tennis. I mean, playing tennis and stuff, I was still really young, like 14, I think.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't really think about like what was actually happening in my life per se. Like I was going to school like everybody else. I was doing everything. Like me and Dylan were hanging out. I had mates at school.
And
and
nothing
played
remarkable happened in
PlayStation.
my life till I was 18.
Yeah, and then I think the turning point was maybe not a turning point, but I got really down when I was about 16, 17 and just was asking all the questions like why me, why this, why that. And I think once I sort of wrapped my head around this was what these were the cards I was dealt, and just sort of started looking at life in a more positive way and realizing that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, the same as it came up today. And if I'm just sitting there being depressed or upset or not wanting to do anything, I'm going to waste a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year doing that. And it's like, yeah, the sun's going to be shining every day. So wake up with a smile on your face and get on with it. And I think I did. I just, yeah.
Got you out the funk.
I
And I said funk.
love that. And you channeled all your energy into tennis and that at that time for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely as a youngster, I channeled a lot of my time into tennis.
And then, a lot of people don't know this, but we didn't see each other for 8 years.
It was a while.
From when I was 16 until when I came back and played tennis when I was about 24.
Oh,
So 2006 to 2014.
I bumped into you once.
We bumped into each other once. So what happened? Talk us through what happened there.
I decided that tennis wasn't for me. I didn't know whether I was ever going to come back to it or anything like that. I just, obviously with my home life being the way it was and
I got it straight. It was tough. You were living by yourself since you were like 16.
14, yeah.
14. I would go
I lived
around
by
to
myself.
your factory where you were. I grew up way too fast. I was like 13. And
Yeah.
you were having house parties. Sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was hard, man. It was
Yeah.
hard. And I wrote this in my book and I asked
Yeah.
you for permission.
Yeah.
How much it broke me seeing some of the troubles within your personal life, family wise. Like we'd be at tennis and things would happen and that. And I was
It's
like,
pretty brutal.
can that kid,
Yeah.
I was like to my parents, can he come live with us? Like I feel so bad. And then you got a factory and it was great because we could just hang out there and stuff.
Got a factory?
You loved it.
He lived in
So
a
my
factory.
dad used to own a pine furniture business in Moorabbin. And when I moved out with him, we lived there and then he got a new partner and his new partner didn't really want to have much to do with me and Trent. So I pretty much was told that I had to stay at the factory. So we from 14 to 18, I was living in a warehouse by myself.
I just love the start of this podcast. Yeah, g'day, I'm Heath. Yeah, just quadriplegic.
Well, I've got a bit of a story going on.
Yeah, I like a
That's
bit
what
of
he
tennis. I go like, what do you want to know about me?
But to me, it's not a
you
good
were
story.
You're not even homeless though. But like, you're 14.
Yeah.
You're a child in a wheelchair with a disability, and Trent's not with you though. Is
No,
he?
no,
He's with your
Trent
mum.
stayed with mum. So,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I made friends with the people that owned the cafe up the road, and
They'd
they used
feed
to bring
you.
me food every day and stuff like that. Dad used to rock up, take me to school.
Now I
Come
can see when
home.
my brother's like, hey, get the stuff on stage, bro. It's amazing.
So,
And then,
I mean,
so-
as Dylan said, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, having a warehouse to yourself when you're
Yeah.
a youngster, you could have fun. So,
but also like that was, I personally lost you in my life and tennis lost you. Like what happened there?
I just went down the wrong path, I guess. I mean, after everything that had happened leading up to that point, I sort of just, I guess said, fuck it, I'll have a bit of fun. So I turned to booze, like my mum and dad had in the past. Obviously, it's in my family. And yeah, one thing led to another. So alcohol turned into drugs. Drugs took over a big part of my life.
In this
So
age
this
between-
was more 17 onwards.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I guess as I said, I pretty much hadn't seen Dylan in 8 years. I relied heavily on substance abuse. Wasn't really going anywhere in my life. Ended up moving back in with mum. And yeah, honestly, not much happened. Like, I never had a job. Was living paycheck, like disability pension week to week, blowing it all and just living a pretty sad and lonely life. So, and I mean, at that time I had a lot of friends who I thought were friends, and yeah, the company I kept wasn't great. And I guess, yeah, just a lot of the guys that I used to hang around with, either in jail or a few passed away.
Do you think that could have been you?
100%, mate. I've OD'd twice, so it my best, well, other than you, and I've got three best mates, you, my mate Damo, and one of my other mates, Lee.
Big meaty.
Yeah, Big Mead. Yeah, one of my best mates saved my life. He gave me CPR until the ambos rocked up and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've done some very, very silly things, but I've come through the other side, I think. So
Definitely. So what was the What was the change of lifestyle to get yourself back? Was it the court? Like, what happened for you to
Nah,
change? Was it moving back in with mum?
Nah, so like I was pretty much with mum the whole time. Mum obviously had some issues with substance abuse too.
Mhm.
And I think I just honestly, man, I just woke up one morning and just said I don't want to do it anymore.
Wow.
And I stopped.
That was what start of 2014, wasn't it?
Just
Yeah.
stopped. Like, bang,
Gone.
done. Put the
What
put the stuff down,
Yeah.
and that was it.
stuff?
What do you want me to call it? Do
No,
I
edit
get stuck into it?
No,
if
edit
not?
that out. I'm just
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
What's your advice, brother? Because there's people that be listening to this, they have disabilities, right? That are doing the same thing. They hate themselves. They're like, why me? This is bullshit. I'm just going to bend her, whatever. You say you just woke up one morning and it kind of ended. But like, what do you say to the people that are probably going through the same kind of demons that you were?
I mean, the only advice I can give him is it seems fun, and it really does at the time, but it's not a sustainable lifestyle, and you're gonna let yourself down, you're gonna let your parents down, you're gonna let your friends down, because there's only one way out of it if you don't stop, and
Mm.
that's death or jail, or two ways, I guess.
Mm.
And there's no way to live. And I was sick of hurting people. I was hurting the people that loved me the most and were around me, like that cared for me. And at that point in my life, I didn't care. I just wanted my next fix. And yeah, as I said, I woke up one morning and just realized that it had to stop. And I made that decision, and I did. And then I started to repair relationships that I'd lost, and yeah, stuff like that. And obviously, like, my dad is a wonderful bloke, but he was never really a dad.
Mm.
He had a lot of trouble with his father. And yeah, I just didn't have the, I guess, guidance that I needed at that time in my life. And I made some very bad decisions and done some really stupid things. But I mean, yeah, I got some really, really shit tattoos. Dylan talks about it in his book. So,
Some rough tattoos.
but
What tribe are you from, by the way?
mate, you tell me.
He's got all kinds of tribal tattoos.
I've got a few tribal
that I'm
tattoos.
culturally not sure about.
Yeah, got some shocker ones. Got some real shocker ones.
Some culturally inappropriate tattoos.
Yeah.
But this was 10 years ago. So you woke up one morning, you just flicked the switch. How long did it take you to get back to the court and find a purpose?
So I stopped doing drugs, and just tried to sort of like
It
get
would have
my
taken you a
life.
while to just come off everything, the lifestyle, the drugs itself.
I mean, yeah, it definitely was different being able to sleep a few days in a row. So, yeah, I guess it took a while, and then I met, but like it's one of those things. Like as you started to repair relationships and stuff, I met a girl back in, I think it would have been like 2014. Well, I knew her previously, and yeah, we got back in contact, and
Her name was Darcy.
her name is Darcy. We were watching Wimbledon one year, and Nick Kyrgios beat Rafa. I think it was in the third round.
And one of the great games of
Yeah.
tennis.
And she,
Shout out to Kiggs, big fan of the podcast.
yeah, so she knew that I used to play tennis because I was actually in her brother's class at school.
Okay.
Believe it or not, he used to spend every weekend at my house, and I never knew he had a sister. So, well played, Tom.
Very good.
and
Usually
then-
everyone's like, man, your sister's so hot. He's
Yeah,
like, what's sister?
Didn't even
Yeah.
know. I'd been to their house.
Only child.
And stuff. So,
Pulls down the pictures from the frames when you come over.
So-
Just an only child.
so yeah, she really encouraged me to get back into it. And I rang Marco, so the guy that used to coach Dylan and myself, and just sort of said, hey, because he was like a big brother to me. He used to babysit me and stuff when we were younger.
He's a good man, Marco.
Really good
Beautiful man.
bloke. And yeah, have a really good relationship with him. And I rang him, and he's like, well, this is a blast from the past. I honestly didn't think I'd ever hear from you again. And yeah, started going down and seeing him, hitting for an hour once a week. And once a week turned into twice a week, and then I really started to find the love for the sport again and the hunger, because I was really passionate about it when I was younger, and then
And good.
I was all right. And then, I don't know, Tennis Australia somehow got wind of the fact
Well,
that
there
I
was there
playing.
another coincidence or correlation between another really
Jesus.
good-looking, talented tennis player who made a comeback about a year before? Was that any influence by any chance?
Mate, I didn't know what you were doing, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
No idea.
No
I was
one
like,
can
"Go get
pump their
him."
tires more than Dylan Alcott. It's outrageous. And he always, this is the technique of Dylan. He does this thing where he asks a question where he knows he's the answer.
Oh, 100%.
That's what I
Does it all the
just did.
time,
Does it all
bro.
the time.
All the time.
Bloody hell. As if you are,
I was
if you
trying to-
knew a really bloody famous, well-known, model at times, gorgeous family, lot going from it, paraplegic. Do you know anyone like that? Oh, me.
But I was trying to avoid that. But no, he did let Tennis Australia know that I was hitting again. He obviously reached out over social media and stuff, and said, good to see you back hitting and stuff like that. And then, went down and had a sort of training session with our coach now, Francois, and sort of started hitting down there, and then got offered a scholarship. And I think it was 18 months to 24 months later.
2 years.
2 years. We I guess wheeled away with a shiny thing at the
Yeah.
Paralympics. So
We'll touch on that in a minute. How'd you go in the comeback? How were you hitting him when you first came back?
absolutely shit house.
Shocking. I'm going, oh, shit, is that a big 8 years?
It was a fair 8 years, mate.
Because people say, there's a saying like riding a bike.
No, it wasn't like
Nah,
riding
it
a bike.
wasn't
I'm
riding a
telling you,
bike.
the
I
first
mean-
6 months I was almost writing him off, and then I reckon 6 months in, he's like, you started to get it, didn't you? And it came back.
Yeah, real rusty. I mean, you could tell that I used to play tennis, but it was just shocking. And then, about 6 months in, I guess it all just started to click. Like I started to, I guess, live more of a professional sportsman lifestyle, and did a lot of the right things off the court, and started listening, and obviously didn't want to listen to Dylan because back when we were juniors, he was shit, I was better. And now he's way better. Well, not way better, but he's definitely got the upper hand over me at the moment. But it's just
Not
sort of one of
always.
those
It's good
things.
battle,
Like,
not always.
I mean, we had a good battle the other day.
Yeah, it's
but
good.
I still never knocked you off in the tournament. But
Come on, I've only got a year to go. Come on, keep it up.
but it's just like sort of obviously because of the past couple of years, I didn't want to hear what people had to say and stuff like that, and like I figured I could do it all myself. And then once I sort of started to listen and realized that these guys were just trying to help me get better, then things started to work.
Yeah. So you were, as a baby, diagnosed at one point as a quadriplegic. What is your current diagnosis of your disability?
So I am a incomplete paraplegic.
Okay.
So I have feeling in some parts of my lower limbs, but I also lose feeling in some parts of my upper body as well. So like I can't move my wrist and stuff like that. And so like I've got restricted movement in my shoulders, restricted movement in my wrists. I can't feel anything from about a T4.
The nipples
it's
down?
Just under my nipples.
Yeah.
Which was always fun when I was younger, and Dad used to throw me in the bath and not put any cold water in there
Oh,
because I couldn't feel it. So
sorry, I didn't mean to sweat them.
Jeez.
Shit out.
Dad's had some good bloopers over
Yeah.
the years, but
Dad didn't want to read a, Raising Kids for Dummies book back in the
it's all right. Just throw me in there, good to go.
Is that hot? Don't know. Oh,
It
It's
seems
a bit
okay.
like that.
how's the factory?
Yeah.
So hang on. So that's why you and Dylan, because this is the interesting thing around, being paraplegic, being disabled. There's, for swimming always blows my mind. It's like
Yes.
T2, what are
Different
some of the
classi-
other
So they're called different classifications to make sure you're racing against people with the same disability. Because if somebody's who's got one leg is racing against a complete paraplegic, it's not fair.
Or
Because
just
they can
someone who's
kick.
got one foot, like
Correct.
you've still got a calf to, the rest of the leg to kick more. So you guys can play together because
So we're in the
you
same
are-
classification. So there's in
Right.
tennis, there's two. There's the open division, which is for people with one or two limbs affected, lower limbs,
Mhm.
amputees, incomplete paraplegics, hip problems, ankle problems, whatever. And we're in a classification called the quad classification, which has three or more limbs affected. So Heath has a problem with his arms, as he said, and I had an accident where I was holding a glass and someone tipped me out of my chair and I severed my ulnar nerve, tendon, and artery. I actually cut half my hand off. So only a portion of my hand works. So that wasn't from my birth disability, but that's why I'm in that classification. It just means if we played some of the guys in the open class who walk around every day, there was a funny story actually. We were juniors, we played a guy called Michael. We used to play a guy called Michael Essler. If Michael Essler's listening to this, hit us up on Instagram, Michael Essler.
Mate,
Haven't
he's in
heard from you in
Brisbane
a while.
somewhere.
He's a baker, I heard.
Yeah.
But he had such a minor disability. He used to walk with his wheelchair on his shoulder
Yeah, he used to carry his chair on
as a
court with it.
point on court.
It was the best.
What a wank. Like, just to be like, hey, boys, how are you? It'd be on his shoulder, and then he'd get in his chair and just kick our ass.
So, Hank,
That's
so
crazy.
what was his disability? Do you remember?
Yeah, he had a little thing with his problem with his hip called Perthes,
Yeah.
I think, which gets better over time. So we used to be like, we want to beat this guy, but the dude's like walking around. Anyway, Essler, hope you're doing well.
But that's how it can work with classifications, and that's why you guys can be in the same category
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we get to play together. Yeah.
And so let's talk about big tournaments. You
Well-
change your lifestyle, you know, you take it serious, you start listening, and
Yeah.
tennis starts improving for you.
The first big one was Aussie Open. You played Aussie Open before the Paralympics, didn't you? 2016. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. So I'd done a couple of tours, well, a couple of tournaments overseas with you.
Yeah, we did two, like a year and a half away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did a couple. I went to South Africa.
Yeah.
That was our first one together. That was absolutely
Speaking of
brutal.
David Wagner,
My favourite tennis player.
Oh, bro,
he got out of the Johannesburg is gnarly. I've read it's gnarly, but you're like, I'll be right.
You just drive through red stop.
Uh,
It's crazy.
David Wagner and his partner Brian Barton pulled out their iPads in the lounge, like when you got your baggage.
Yeah.
And they got followed at this tennis tournament by 5 guys with machine guns.
Yeah.
And got held up on the way to the tournament, and they stole everything but their
So they were
wheelchairs.
followed in a car, and as they were pulling into the gated community, they got held up,
5
and they
guys with
had
machine guns, everything but their wheelchair.
yeah
What?
everything.
On the way to a
Tennis
tournament.
rackets.
And
tennis
guess what?
rackets, iPads,
South African
phones.
Open. Haven't been back there since.
Yeah.
They came and got us all like, hey guys, so just letting you know this. I've been a stand up out the front with 5 guys with machine guns, and David Wagner's okay, but he's got everything. Only got his wheelchair left. We were like, what?
Me
You
and
okay,
Dylan
Wagner?
were like,
And that's your
should we
first
go home?
experience?
That was my first
was
ever
my
international tennis
joy.
tournament.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
And I was like, hey, I'm glad Heath's here because he could actually protect me because he's lived a life.
He's seen the streets.
definitely had some fun. But
Okay, so that's your first experience. Just cross that one off the list. You know, you punched the passport to South
But-
Africa. You
mate,
can
it
say
was
you've
all
been
good.
there.
We went on safari. It ended up
Yeah, it
being
was
all
good.
right. So
And then you made your way through the top ranked players. You were in about the top 30, top 20 in the world. Got to play your first Australian Open in 2016. Now,
yeah,
we grew up going to the Oz Open together.
yeah,
What was that feeling for you like to play there for the first time?
pretty cool. Very nervous. Like obviously, I wasn't at that point in my career. I wasn't, I guess, at the top level.
As good as you are now.
Yeah. So
Double specialist.
definitely a double specialist. For some reason, I play really good doubles. I don't know why. But playing that was unreal. Like it was really cool. Obviously, being in front of a home crowd and having people there to support you and stuff like that. Granted, I played that first Australian Open with 2 broken ribs
Oh, yeah.
because I broke my ribs in the tournament before in Sydney.
Oh, falling out of the chair.
Yeah, hit the fence.
Oh.
Gone full
pushing
pelt.
for a ball in the fence.
And then I've just fallen and cracked 2 ribs on the side of my wheelchair.
Played me first round with broken ribs. It was tough. It was tough.
It was
It was
tough.
fun. Yeah.
So Dylan took it easy on you, no doubt.
100%. I've never heard so many come on babies in my whole
Yeah,
life. I'm
just-
sitting up the other end going, you're my best mate. What are you doing, bro?
I tell you what is cool though, like, and we've talked about your parents and that, but I remember Phil was there. I think Jane might have been there. I'm not sure, but the emotion in look how great you've turned out. All right, like
Yeah.
you're a beautiful man, and we've got to give them credit for some of the things that went on because you're a great person,
Yeah.
and so is Trenna. It was cool seeing their face as well, man.
100%.
I was going to ask your family was there?
Your family, watching them, like, they look like they're going to vomit because I've never seen people more nervous in my life watching them. Maybe my dad, actually.
Well, I mean, my dad did a complete 180. Like, my dad was, like, the worst sports parent ever. Like, would come down and just yell abuse when I was playing and just be
Had a bit of
constantly on
The
me.
dockage about it,
Yeah,
minus
very
the
dockage.
Physical harm.
Yeah. And then, even I think Dylan commented after our match saying, like, that was really weird. Your dad was really supportive and stuff like that. And, it's really cool that, like, there's been a massive shift in stuff and they are really supportive. But, it was really scary going out there and playing. Obviously, I wish I was in better nick at the time, but gave it my best shot. Playing doubles with Dylan that year was pretty funny because he just told me to sit in the left tram track and do not move. Don't move.
I'll
If the
take
ball
care of
comes
the
to
rest,
you,
guys.
Right,
yeah,
that's it.
legit.
Come on, Agnes.
If the ball comes to you, hit it. If not, let me hit it. I'm like, righto.
It worked. But actually, we didn't win any major tournaments up until we won a couple of tournaments, but like not
Couple
against
of
the
little
best
ones.
players.
Not the big
No.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got to the Paralympic Games, which was in 2020. Now, you're at the Paralympics 2 years after your comeback. It's pretty impressive, mate. Like, you made I thought you had no chance. And then the last, I would say 10 months before that.
Is this
when-
Rio?
Rio in 2016. So from about December 2015, if you asked me, would you be going to Paralympics? I'm like, it's going to be tough. He's not going that well. And then you made a massive leap in that time, didn't you?
I did, and I was awarded a wild card for the Paralympics, which was really cool. But within 3 hours of being awarded the wild card, it was taken away because I hadn't met the criteria to go to the Paralympics because I hadn't been playing tennis for long enough.
Oh.
There's
So
all these you got to do a certain amount of international team tournaments.
yeah,
And
and stuff like that.
blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And I
Which
hadn't-
you still have to do this day. I know you
Yeah.
jet off to some weird
And I'm like,
tournaments.
oh.
Like Malaysia last
Yeah,
year.
we had
that's
to go to
the one you
Malaysia
went to.
during the week before, like the
Yeah.
world stopped
Yeah.
for COVID, and I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, you have to go if you want to play the Paralympics.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really weird. Like, I got the email. I don't know whether they were supposed to send it to me to say that I got the wild card, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to the Paralympics.
How good?
What's going on here? And then, like, yeah, no shit. 3 hours later, I got an email saying, oh, sorry.
Whoops.
Yeah, you don't meet the criteria, so therefore you're not going to be able to go. And then it just so happened that they ended up formally inviting me. So it wasn't a wild card.
Gotcha.
I got
Because you didn't meet the criteria for
Yeah.
wild card, but there was another
so
process
yeah,
to get
I got
you
a
in.
formal invite to go, and believe it or not, like people, one of the things that I get asked the most was how good was it winning a gold medal? Was that the highlight of your Paralympics? And my answer is it was cool, but it wasn't the highlight. I
Free-
have two other highlights.
Was it the free Maccas?
Definitely three
He
Maccas. That's number
smashed
one.
it. He caned it.
Mate, it was pizza
He-
and McDonald's
he
for me
loved
for
it. But you
2
should have
weeks.
seen him. He was losing it.
All of a sudden, you go back to the size of 14-year-old
Yeah.
Heath.
Yeah, he smashed it.
And Paralympics was the first time I beat a guy inside the top 10 in the singles. Brian Barton, I managed to get over in my first round of the singles, which was really cool. Did it in 3 sets. So they're probably obviously the free Maccas, and that is probably my highlight. Obviously, not taking anything away with
From the
from
gold.
winning a gold medal. But it wasn't until I got home that I realized what I'd accomplished or whatever. Like Dylan had obviously done it before in the basketball and stuff, so he sort of knew. And for me, it was just sort of like a massive whirlwind and a roller coaster, man. I wasn't supposed to be there, and we just so happened to beat a team that had never been beaten in the Paralympics before. So
Well, we weren't going to beat them at one point. We were down 6-1, 5-1, 30 love. So if you know tennis,
I think you actually said to me,
well, I'm like,
like,
I mean,
yeah,
this is
it's like,
embarrassing.
where's the closest pub?
Like, we were live on Channel 7 as well the first time. And because of the time difference, it was like 9 a.m. And
we
it was
got pushed, remember? And it
pushed on to
became- yeah.
during sunrise. So everyone was watching.
I know.
And
Crazy.
we were playing so bad. What was going through your head when you were playing tennis at the Paralympics, in particular in that moment?
Honestly, at that point in time, I'm just like, God, why? How did we get all the way here? And then I've decided to play some of the most garbage tennis that I've ever played in my life.
I wasn't going much better. Don't worry about
We were both pretty average. And then Dylan actually said to me, at 30 love, he's just like, let's just play tennis. We weren't having fun. Like, and that's what I think why we're such good doubles partners, because we're best mates. We have fun out there. We joke, we banter, and we weren't doing any of that. And then it sort of just, we ended up winning that game. And then I think we won the next, what did we win the second set? I think we won the second set 6.
We won that game. Well, it was actually 6-1, 4-1. We won 6-4. And then I was about to absolutely piss my pants. I had to piss so bad. I took a toilet break, lost all our momentum, down 4-love in the deciding set. And then we ended up winning that 7-5 in the third set.
It was 4-all, and I hadn't made a serve all
that's
game.
right.
4-all, third set.
And I said this. I was like, mate, I got complete confidence in you. 4 first serves here. And then I turned around and I thought, 4 double faults coming up. It's going to be tough.
Mate,
I
it
did.
was
I was like,
legit.
the pressure
Yeah.
at 4-all. I was like, he's going to serve the worst game I've ever seen.
I
And
served
guess what
2
he did?
aces.
2 aces, 2 big serves. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
Turned it on when
And
it counted.
Yeah, I mean, we managed to get through that one, and then match point was still unbelievable. I mean, it just the final shot that Dylan hit, as the ball was coming over the net, Dylan looked back at me and said, "We've just won a gold medal," and then hit a winner. And like,
Dylan's
he is the
Dylan is
biggest
looking at me
flog.
with the smuggest.
I said
look
we've
at me
done, I
shaking
said
his
we've
head.
done it.
Yeah,
Oh.
we've
And then I
done
hit
it.
Oh, so you haven't hit the ball
No.
yet?
But it was like, I could have hit over with my, I could have kicked it.
Right, so it was like a
it was
volley
just
right
like,
in front of you.
boom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, we've done it. Like
It-
shock.
Yeah,
I was talking to myself as well.
Yeah.
And then I went bang. And then we turned
Angus,
around.
that is a lie. He looked directly at
Yeah.
me, and he's like,
Well,
"We've
it was
done
like a
it."
little
Yeah.
Sheena McGavin.
Actually, I was like this. I was going to say, do you want it? And I looked and Heath's 50 metres away on the fence, like shaking in nerves.
So
And then you were saying before about what happened afterwards.
yeah, so apparently today I jumped on Instagram, and the ITF had
International Tennis Federation.
yeah, they posted a post about the most famous hugs in tennis, and Dylan and myself made the top 5.
Hey.
We almost tipped each other out of our chairs. It was
Yeah,
That's
I don't think I've
awesome.
ever wanted to pash a bloke so much in my whole life. So
It was
Pretty
amazing. And the times in Rio afterwards was very good as well. We had a great time. And I mean, are you,
we went missing for like 18 hours.
As-
We had fun.
as we should, do you think, I mean, can you believe all this has happened for you, considering where you were about
Nah,
8 years ago?
no way, man. Like, as I said, like back in those times, I thought I was going to be, honestly, I look back now and I'm like, how are you alive, sort of thing. Like, and it took me a while when I came back to tennis, and I started to become a professional athlete, and like looking back now, and I still struggle with it now that, I mean, people say I've got an inspirational story and all of this stuff, and I sort of just sit here and think I don't deserve it a lot of the time. Like, somebody that hasn't done all the stuff that I've done, that has committed themselves at a lot younger age and done all the right things, deserves it more than me. But I mean, it's something that I battle with, and I struggle every once in a while with being down in the dumps and stuff like that. But it's one of those
So it's
things.
interesting because you had your troubled times with, substance abuse, and you probably got a kid who's an incomplete paraplegic playing tennis, and he never stopped playing during those 8 years that you
Yeah.
didn't, and you've now succeeded past him. You feel some sort of guilt. I'm not saying that's an individual person. I don't know if that person exists,
No,
but in you,
Definitely
there's a guilt there.
Definitely feel guilty, because I guess I feel like I wasted a lot of years, and I feel like other people may deserve the, I guess, accomplishments that I've got, and in a little way, I feel like I've taken that away from somebody else and
It's interesting.
stuff. So
I mean, it's wrong, but it's interesting.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's the way.
It's wrong.
I mean,
It is.
You're wrong, but
Yeah.
that's it.
No, but that's
It's-
insecurities that people have.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's- had you stayed on the right path of playing tennis, you might have played for another 3 years and then got a job at Macca's and all of a
Correct.
sudden
Yeah.
become a manager at McDonald's and
Mate,
not knowing what tennis
if it
exists.
means I get free Maccas,
I was going to
might
say,
leave
there's
tennis.
some
Right.
perks in there for you.
I do definitely love a cheeky
And-
cheesy.
It's not often that 3 accredited, accomplished sports people get in the same room as well.
What's this?
About, you're a premiership player for your Adelaide football team, aren't
Very
you?
funny.
Ah,
I actually
hells
was.
yeah.
I was a premiership AFL player for the Caloundra Panthers.
Ooh,
What
What
a few
happened
years back.
What happened in Adelaide?
Adelaide, I was dropped for the grand final after playing
you
a full
dropped
year.
for the
No.
granny.
I was an emergence.
Played the whole
That's
year.
brutal.
Yeah,
It is absolutely rough.
yeah. Kim Cobb, once again, if you're listening, never forget. Because Dylan won't let me forget.
Yeah, no.
He likes to hold on to these weird bits of trivia about
He
the really
does.
painful parts of your life. You
He
could ask him
does.
about. He said, "Oh, when's he due?" Talking about my daughter.
No, I said true.
No, you said he. I'm like, when's he due again?
I might
I
say
said,
he- I
my
was maybe-
daughter.
Yeah, that was true. But hasn't
It's
been
a
born yet.
girl, and yet all of a sudden he'll remember everything about when I got dropped for an AFL grand final in Adelaide.
That's still, mate.
Scotch
That's
College.
still.
Hey,
Alright.
just edit relationship status. Yep, no, what do you want to do?
Yeah, he's single. Bang it out if you want.
Okay. So you were in a long-term relationship as well.
was.
Darcy, she played a great pivotal role in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't thank her enough for really changing my life in a really good way. And her family, they just took me in and showed me what a loving household was.
Yeah,
And
'cause you hadn't seen it before.
yeah, I, like owe them so much, and will always remember what they've done for me, and will always be grateful for her and her family. So
Do they ride the success? Do you know where they were when that telecast was going about your Rio? Were they watching?
they were all watching,
Amazing.
sitting at Darcy's house. They all took the day off work, which is cool, and
How nice is that, man?
Yeah.
It's got a great feeling. And it's-
Darcy's mum is like my number one supporter.
Yeah.
Like, comes to all my matches when she can.
Nanny Wong also made us, Heath and I, all our coronavirus masks,
Yeah,
and they're cool.
and
Good
they're
ones.
cool, and
Yeah.
makes all my straps and stuff for my tennis. So yeah,
so
just
nice.
can't thank them enough for everything they've done for me. So
And you're a newly single man at the moment. How's that going?
I mean, I wouldn't say newly. It's been a while, but yeah, single. So just so single. Just focusing on
And
my
you lo-
tennis at the moment.
And you
So
want a family as well, which I love. You love kids.
I do. I'm massive. That's one of the other things that I really enjoy doing. Outside of my tennis career, going and talking to like underprivileged kids or kids that are going through some times at schools and stuff like that. It's something that I'm really passionate about, because if I can sort of help one kid see the brighter side of life and not have to go through what I went through, then I think that's a good thing. So
Well, mate, you're hitting a lot of kids right now with this podcast, so there's definitely going to be someone touched by your story. There's no doubt. I've got a bowl of uncomfortable questions.
Hit it.
Have you listened to our podcast before? We hope, Peter.
I've listened to a few.
Okay, good. The bowl of uncomfortable is where somebody sends a question in. This person would like to remain anonymous, though I don't think their question is too scathing. This bowl of uncomfortable question is, do you ever wonder what your career would look like had Dylan not picked up a racket?
Oh, what a great question. I didn't write that, by the way.
Because you are the
I reckon you did.
No,
I reckon
I
you're
think
sitting on
you
your
did. I will
phone.
tell you.
He texted to me. Because you're the second best in your category for tennis behind Dylan at the moment.
No, I mean in
In
Australia,
Australia,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
in Australia, sorry, yes.
currently ranked 6th in the world, so there's a few in front of me, but
You'd be number one if it wasn't for Dylan.
I'd be number one in Australia if it wasn't for Dylan. But if I'm honest, like if Dylan hadn't put in that word with Tennis Australia, I don't know if they ever would have given me the call. So
That's interesting.
I do owe him a lot. But I think that is a tough question. I don't think
Because even at
I
the
would-
start of this podcast, you wouldn't have realised, but it's something I picked up on. You said, I'm Dylan's tennis double.
I do it all the time. I've been
You put Dylan first
I always
before you
do.
talked
Dylan-
about yourself.
Dylan's doubles partner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how you introduce yourself. It's like, not Dylan's my tennis. You said, I'm Dylan's.
I don't know.
Therefore, putting yourself
don't like-
subconsciously
I don't
behind
like
him.
If
talking
I
to
could be-
myself, mate.
If I could be eliminated from the past of tennis, would you do it, or do you think the journey with me has been? What would you pick? That's basically what the question said.
I still would have played tennis. I don't think it would have been anywhere near as fun. I've really enjoyed the journey that I've had with Dylan alongside me along the way.
So you'd keep Dylan or sacrifice Dylan?
I mean, he's beat me up over the last couple of years, so probably get rid of him, to be honest with you.
You'd be number one, baby.
Stuff him.
Take it.
Sacrifice. See ya.
And my other question is, just quickly to both of you before you go, the Olympics, there were some rumours around the day of recording today that it might be cancelled. Some pretty strong sources coming out that Tokyo doesn't look like they're going to feel comfortable running with it this year. How does that make you both feel?
I mean, it's tough.
Because that's what you
like,
work towards. It's 4 years. That's
obvious.
the big one, right?
Yeah, and Dylan will be in the same sort of boat that I'm in. Like, it's a 4-year cycle, and we make choices to play tennis and put things on hold in our outside of tennis life, which can cause a lot of issues outside of in your personal life and stuff like that. And yeah, for it not to happen is pretty brutal. So, but I mean, look, I'm gonna try and go around again. So
Yeah, so you got another year past this
there
one
you
for
go. There's the answer to the question. We'll find out in 4 years after Dylan's gone.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Dylan, potentially this could be your last year of tennis.
Who knows?
Who knows? But, you wanted to end on a
No,
year that had the
100%.
full tennis circuit, and it doesn't look like that's a reality.
I mean, yeah, we can control what we can control, so you can't get too much into it. But I mean, I'll be 100% gutted if it doesn't get up, because if you take away money out of sport, because let's be honest, me and Heath, our prize money is not great compared to the able-bodied players and things like that. Obviously, I'm personally extremely lucky with sponsors and partners and work and things like that. But if you take money out of sport, what's the most prestigious thing in the world? The Olympics and Paralympic Games. And that's why it means so much to Paralympic athletes, because it's the 2 weeks that we are the main event. You know what I mean? We are the show. So I'd be shattered. But also my love goes to the people of Tokyo. Like,
Yeah, it's
I thought about
crazy.
it. If it was in Melbourne, right? Would Melbourne be letting in 30,000 people from all around the world? It's been hard enough with 1,200
Nah.
people. So
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved. The weeds of it is brutal. So it's really tough both ways for sure.
It's a good point. As we are recording this, we're about to start the Australian Open, and there is a national outrage at
Yeah,
the tennis
1,200
players
people.
being led in the country.
Imagine 30G.
Exactly.
or whatever it is.
Minimum.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
that's not
it's
even
nuts.
allowing people in for spectating.
It's a big number. So, we'll just keep training our backsides off and hopefully get the opportunity to represent it, our families, our country, because it means so much to us.
And we should point out once again, the Australian Open hasn't yet started. Obviously, we're in that moment. The players are quarantining, so good luck to
Surely
you both.
not Alcott, Davidson first round. Surely not.
Touch wood, it doesn't happen.
Because
Touch
this year,
wood, it
for the
doesn't
first time,
happen.
it's knockout for us. It's not round robin because
Yeah.
there's
Oh.
an increased draw size. So, I mean, now I've probably put the jinx on us, but there is a 13% chance we could play each other first. We always play each other first round. Come on, the
give me
tennis
your
gods.
favourite player first, Angus.
Yeah.
David
Give me
Wagner,
Wags.
baby.
Like,
That'll be a
just-
quick exit for
What do
you.
you, wait,
Just saying, I've
you
won.
said?
Yeah,
That'll be a quick
that's
exit
rough.
for you. He's going to
I've,
come dressed in an American flag. Angus.
I love it.
I've won multiple doubles titles with David Wagner. I actually really like the bloke as
Yeah,
much
me
as it's
too,
Dylan's
mate.
rivalry.
I don't mind Wagner. He
I love
hates
him.
me.
I loved it
He,
because when at the Australian Open, when the last year's Australian Open, he was getting so angry at how loud the crowd was
Oh, yeah.
in that night match. He was
Nuts.
furious.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I love
Yeah.
Dave.
Gus is the best.
He's the man.
Cut all his
Get on
hair
you,
off,
Gus.
though.
I love you, Gus.
All right. Heath, what a story. Thanks for sharing it, man. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And if people want to get in touch with you, Heath, you do a bit of public speaking. I know
do.
there's you have the 3 goals of 2021, singles gold, doubles gold, and getting verified on Instagram.
That is 100% true.
So throw
I'm
it
not
out
verified
to
on
the world right
Instagram.
now.
What's the Insta?
Throw it out there.
My Instagram is Heath Davidson 1, I think it is, or 13.
Bro, get it
Can't
together.
How
remember.
do you
Come on,
not
man.
know?
I don't
What are
know.
you talking
Not
about?
on page.
That's why you're not
Mate,
verified. You have no
after-
interest in the page.
It's 13, bro.
13.
Heath
Didn't Lawrence
Davidson,
Mooney?
13.
Remember when we were in Rio and Lawrence Mooney went off because I didn't have a Twitter?
Yeah, I
When
know.
we crossed live,
Really?
Channel 7. Went nuts.
He's like, well, you need to get your brand, but you do. You need to get your brand out there. And you know what? Instagram, big fans of the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're listening, verify Heath.
Give them a
Please
boost.
He's almost
verify
got
me.
5,000 followers. Come on,
I've
get it.
almost got 5,000 followers.
And also, ladies, if you're in a 20-kilometre distance, swipe
Hey.
right.
Get
That's
around
right.
him. He's looking
Not
good
on
at
a
the
dating
moment,
website,
ladies.
never been on one.
Excuse me, ladies listening, just don't do it around the Australian Open. I need him in good nick for doubles, please.
Thanks, Heath.
Thank you.